So my name's Ramona. I am the Education Director here at the Nature Institute. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you enjoy this video. So today we are going to do a video of the prairie. We want to talk about some of the plants that are here in the prairie. And to do that, we're actually here at the Kemp and Cora Hutchinson Bird Sanctuary. T&I is a nature preserve. We have about 450 acres that we manage. We have about 5 miles worth of hiking trails. Of course, this is one of the shortest ones here at the Prairie, but it is a great place to visit, especially during the summer. So join us as we hike through the prairie and ID some of the plants. All right, so this is the prairie, and as you can see, things are actually just now getting started. So if you were here, a couple weeks ago, you probably saw lots of white flowers and lots of purple flowers. Now we're starting to get into some of the yellow flowers starting to bloom. So a lot of times when you think of prairie, you think of grasses, right? So we have lots of different kinds of grasses in the prairie. We have big blue stem, we have little blue stem. Lots of times you can see prairie dropseed and Indian grass. Lots and lots of different kinds of grasses in a prairie. And those are super important plants in the prairie. They provide lots and lots of seeds for birds. They also provide great hiding places for a lot of the mammals and birds and other things that live in the prairie. But what we really like to see in the prairie, gives it a little bit of variety, are a lot of the flowers, right? One of my favorite ones here is rosinweed. So if you look at the flower here, it's a very sunflower-like flower, but the rosinweed is one of the really, really drought-tolerant plants here in the prairie. You might be able to hear, it kind of sounds sandpapery. And it is. The leaves are very, very rough and thick, and that is the way that the plant is able to hang on to all of its water. Those are the thick leaves, and then those sandpapery leaves keep insects from eating them. So they are very, very well adapted to a prairie type habitat, and one of the more common plants here in our prairie. Now over here just a little bit farther, I have one of our flowers that's actually on its way out. So we have one little bitty spiderwort plant that is still blooming. These are one of my favorite flowers here in the prairie. And that's just because they are that really, really neat blue color. You don't see very much blue in nature. But something fun that I really like to share with kids is that an alternate name for the spiderwort is actually snotweed. And that's because if you take the leaves and you kind of rub them in your fingers, they get all slimy, kind of like snot. So it's pretty funny to do that with kids. Oh, here's another neat one. So this is a baptisia. This is actually one of the nitrogen fixers here in the prairie. And you have some flowers here. We've got buds, so these are actually just now starting. Wild white indigo is the common name for this, but baptisia is what you'll hear a lot of people call them as well. The seed pods are fairly thick, oblong seed pods, and if you rattle them, you can hear the seeds inside of them after they've dried. So they're kind of a fun one to find in the prairie as well. But like I said, they are a nitrogen fixer, so they're one of the important plants here in the prairie for spreading out the nutrients within the plant communities. So here we have cup plant, and the rosinweed that we saw earlier, this plant is closely related to the rosinweed. So again, it has those thick leaves and those sandpapery feeling leaves. But this one's kind of cool in that the leaves actually cup around the stem. So this one, because we had rain last night, is actually holding water. So a lot of times, especially if you're near some wetlands and you see cup plants, you're gonna see frogs hanging out in those little puddles of water, finding a place where they can stay, nice and wet, because of course their skin has to stay really, really moist throughout the day. But these cup plants, another really, really cool sunflower looking flower whenever they do bloom, they also get super, super tall. So a majority of the plants in this prairie are gonna be taller than me at maturity. So I'm about 5 feet tall. A lot of these plants are gonna be 7, 8, 9 feet tall. It's just a really cool experience to walk through a prairie, of course, in the late summer. So let's keep walking. Let's see what we can find. Oh, here's a smelly plant. I love smelly plants. So this one has little bitty white flowers, really inconspicuous. But what's cool about this plant is it has a square stem, which a lot of the plants in this family do, and it's a smelly plant. So if you smell it, it's very, very minty. So this is one of the mountain mints. We have a few different species. We have slender mountain mint and hairy mountain mint. I'm not sure which one this one is. It could be either one. They look very, very similar. But it has a very, very strong mint smell to it. Do you know why plants like mint have strong smells? It's so that they don't get eaten by insects. So this strong smell, which we as humans really, really, really love, is really distasteful to a lot of the insects that want to eat plants here in the prairie. So what we use in our food on a regular basis, because we love mint chip ice cream, is going to be something that a grasshopper or a cricket or an ant they're just going to think is totally disgusting. Like, you know, little kids think broccoli is just totally disgusting. So that's why a lot of these plants have these really strong smells. We as humans, we've taken advantage of that and really enjoy them. But there is a reason that these plants are the way that they are, which is pretty cool. Another bonus tip, you can actually eat the mint here in the prairie. So here's another one of my favorite plants here in the prairie. And you can probably see even in the video just how thick these leaves are. So this is rattlesnake master. Kind of a silly name, right? Why would they call it rattlesnake master? Well, you know, back in pioneer days when you didn't have medicines that were commonly used for lots of different ailments, you found plants that you thought maybe could do what you wanted it to do, right? So one of the stories surrounding rattlesnake master is that it'll actually cure you of a snake bite. It really won't. It's not going to work, but it is a really, really cool plant. So it's not blooming yet, but you can kind of see the seed head starting to form. And this gets a really interesting flower on it. It kind of looks like a spiky ball. So come out later in the summer and check out rattlesnake master. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. Feel those leaves, how thick they are, how well they're going to hold on to that water here in this very, very hot prairie.